Hi, it's Michelle from Bits and Pieces Paper Lab, and today we're going to be making this vintage inspired glitter easel card, glitter house easel card. So if you're a fan of these old style vintage putz houses, you're going to love this project. I am obsessed with these and I wanted to try and make some cards that mimic those. So this is how this works. It folds flat for mailing and it's just made with all kinds of pretty glitters. And then when the recipient receives it, they pop it up. And the little sentiment here will hold it up, and then it becomes an easel card. So it stands up. You can stick it on your mantle, you can stick it on a bookshelf and just display it and enjoy it for the holidays. You could even make a whole bunch of these for yourself if you wanted. So let's get started and learn how to make this. And I think it's going to inspire you to make a whole little village. Now, if you're joining me from the 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop 12 Days of Christmas, you can get this file for free. Just sign up below and make sure you've signed up before the event starts on November 24th. If you're joining me after Thanksgiving 2023, you'll find a link to purchase this file down in the description of this video.
Okay, so there's a few things that we need to do to get this file ready for cutting. I've uploaded it into Cricut Design Space and the whole thing is grouped. So I'm going to come up here on the right and click ungroup, and that allows me to move some of my pieces away from each other, kind of out of the way. Now, and then this is also grouped, so I need to do ungroup, and I'm going to move the card base away. Now, if I were to send this to cut right now, these lines that are intended to be score lines would just cut right through, which would just cut it into pieces. So I need to change these to score lines. So I'm going to click on the card, come up here and ungroup it. And then I'm going to click on my individual score lines, this one and this one. When I've got both of them selected, I'm going to come up here under Operation and choose Score. That way Cricut knows I want those scored. And then I'm going to select these score lines along with this piece again. I'm going to group it and I'm going to come down here and hit attach. Now when it sends it to the machine, attach tells it that I want those score lines to stay exactly where I've got them in relation to the larger piece. So it won't do the score lines just on a separate mat. It puts them exactly where I want them. All right, now this piece, the Happy Holidays, is intended to be drawn with a pen tool rather than cut. If I were to send it right now, it would just cut the letters out, which wouldn't look good because they're single line fonts. So again, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to ungroup it so I can work with just the letters. I'm going to move the little banner away, select the letters, and then come up here under Operation. I'm going to choose Pen. That way, Cricut knows I want that drawn. And now I'm going to move my little banner back. Get it centered up, select the whole thing, whoops, select the whole thing, group it, and hit attach. Again, it's telling the machine I want this drawn on this banner, so we'll do it properly. Oh, I forgot one more thing. This piece, the little window, also has score lines, so I need to take care of those. So let's ungroup this, move the window away, ungroup it again, and then I'm going to select these score lines and I'm going to change them to score, select the whole thing, and do attach again. So that way those will score as well. I forgot about that little window. Okay, now we are ready to go ahead and hit cut.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, honestly, the trickiest part of this card is just folding the easel. So when you get the Cricut file, it already has score lines in it, and we talked about that before. You're going to fold along the center score line, and now it's just like a flat card like you would mail. This is the tricky part because this is so thin. There's another score line, and you need to carefully fold along that score line. You might even want to like double score it just so that it's very distinct where you need to fold. It's kind of a tiny little piece, so it does make it kind of tricky to fold on that score. And the circle is into the top piece on purpose, so don't worry about that. It's supposed to be like that. Now, the way this easel card works is you're only adhering the card to the bottom half of that panel. So this open window, that's where the house gets adhered. Nothing gets adhered to this top part or to the back part. So that's what makes it so that it can fold up and fold flat. It's only glued to this section right here, just this half. So you'll place your glue there. So that's how the mechanism works. Now let's just quickly assemble this card and get it put together. We're gonna start with this top little piece that gets mounted onto the front of the house. So the first thing I'm gonna do is glue on this little decorative window pane. So this is 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop Glitter Luxe cardstock, and it's nice, beautiful, glittery cardstock. It cuts great on the Cricut, obviously, but it does, because it's so chunky, you need to use a little more glue than normal. So you want to be pretty liberal with your glue, and also you just kind of have to hold things down for a minute and let it kind of catch into all the little crevices of the glitter. So give it a second to just adhere nice and good. So on the back side of this, actually, you have a couple options. You can just leave your windows open, or you can put vellum, anything see-through. Vellum would work, or mulberry paper, even tissue paper would work. Anything that's kind of transparent, you can use that there. Or like I said, you can just leave it plain if you don't want to do that. So I am going to use vellum, and this is the point where I want to go ahead and put my vellum behind my windows. So you can see on the back of the card, the vellum goes on the inside of this opening. And the reason for that is you can tuck a tea light into this and it will light up. So this is the two places where you need the vellum. Here on this big square, that's the purpose of this opening, is to kind of leave it open so that the light will shine through. You need vellum there, and then on this window right here. So for this piece, I'm going to tuck it behind my little window. So I've just cut out a little piece of vellum, just big enough to do that. I'm going to place some glue just around my little window. Get that in place. Looks like I made it just a little bit too big, so I'm gonna, the file does not include these pieces just because, well, obviously mulberry paper doesn't really cut on a Cricut. I didn't know what you'd want to do and how you'd want to do it, so you can kind of just add this after the fact. So now we've got our vellum behind our window, and this is 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop Gold Glimmer, or Gilded Gold vellum with a little bit of a shimmer. So that is done, and now we're going to work on the little window pane. Now in the file, the window pane has little score lines so that your shutters kind of pop out. So just with your hands, just kind of bend at those score lines, pop your windows out. Okay, now we're going to adhere our window to our card. So I'm just going to place some adhesive here kind of along the edges of the shutters. And again, I need to use more than I think I would, just so that it will stick down to that glitter. I'm going to hold it in place for just a second. All right, we've got that. Now, if you can see, the little doors actually popped up a little bit just to give it dimension. So I'm going to take my door piece and I'm going to adhere my snow to the top of my door. And that gets glued just right onto the door piece. Looks like I got a little too much glue there. Hold it for a second. And then we're going to use some foam adhesive to pop that up a little bit. And again, I don't need to worry about putting vellum behind these pieces because the big vellum square will cover it. So I peel off the tape. I'm going to stick the door right lined up with the bottom and the opening. All right, so now we have that little piece ready. Now we're going to put the little snowy roof on. And again, you can choose whether you want to use foam tape or not for that. I'm going to, just because I think the dimension looks good. Add a bit here and there. And I'm just lining that up with the roof line. like that. Okay, that piece is ready to go. As you can see, it takes just a minute for that glue to dry on the glitter. So you kind of need to glue and set aside. You can even set something heavy on it if you're really worried about it. Okay, now let's work on this piece. So this is going to be the base of the house, and then the roof gets glued on, and you want to it overlaps just a bit. You can see kind of how much it overlaps, but you'll know it's right because you're creating a full circle there. So if it's like this, I've got it too low. If it's like this, it's too high. You want to kind of just make it look like a good circle there. So I'm going to place some adhesive right along this edge. And get it lined up. And if it's not exactly perfect, it's going to be fine. You just want it to have a basic circle shape. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then I'm going to glue my little snow line onto the roof of the house. And there's two pieces for this. First is a long one, gets glued. Oops. The whole thing's scooted over. Okay. This one gets glued here. And then the smaller one goes right there. Okay. I'm just going to give that a minute to adhere while I get my my chimney on. So this little chimney, the V'd point goes towards the bottom, and then the top gets covered in snow. And again, this is 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop Glitter Luxe cardstock. It comes in 45 different colors. So if you don't want a pink house, maybe you would like a red and green glitter house. Definitely, we have all the colors at 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop. I'm also going to pop my chimney up with a little bit of foam tape. Just stick it on there. Now, one thing to note, the chimney, you might be tempted to make it like coming off. That needs a little bit more glue. You might be tempted to make the chimney like coming off the top of the card, but if you do that, it's going to be too tall for the card because you can see how this lines up pretty much with the top of the card. If you put the chimney, it's going to stick out over the top and it won't fit in an envelope. So you actually need to put your chimney down a bit on your card. So. All right, so we've got that part ready. Next, we're going to mount these on top of each other, and it's easy to know where they go because you just match up the little doors. I'm going to use more foam tape for this. Now I would just set this aside and let all the glue on this dry really good before I did the next step. I want to make sure everything's really adhered down so things don't start sliding around for the next part. So we're going to set that aside, let that dry for a bit. Next we have our little Happy Holidays banner. I'm going to glue the banner part right on here. Now you can draw this with your Cricut, or you can, if you have a stamp that would work, you can do whatever you want, or handwrite a sentiment. Maybe you want to put your last name, like from prices or something like that. But that little piece gets glued directly to the glitter piece. Now it's important that you use foam tape on this center piece. So if you can see how that pops up right there, what that does is it catches the lip of the easel. So if you don't have something that's got a bit of dimension, it's just gonna like close on you. You need something that it will catch on. So, and you can determine how high your house is going to stand based on where you put this. If you put it maybe like at the bottom third of the square, it's gonna lean a little bit. If you put it up higher, it would stand up like completely upright. You can kind of decide what you like, how you like it. This one I did it lower. Maybe on this other one we'll make it a little higher just so I can show you the difference. So now that that is dry, I'm going to use foam tape on the back of this, like I said, so that it's got that, makes a little lip to catch the easel. All All right, and I'm gonna stick this one a little bit higher, like maybe in the center, just so I can show you how that works. All right, so next we're gonna put the vellum behind this square, and that way all the windows that are on this bottom part will have vellum behind them. So I am going to put this right here, and it looks like I need to trim it just a bit. Thought I measured that. I guess I did a bad job measuring it. All right. So I'm going to place some glue, and now the part right here is a little bit tiny. So you want to use a fine tip glue applicator like this Barely Arts glue, or any kind of fine tip applicator works great for those smaller little sections. And this is vellum, so I don't need a ton of glue on this. This is just like a regular glue situation. Okay. Use my finger to just kind of seal all of that. Now when I get my house placed on, it covers up the edges of that. So remember, we're not gluing anything to this top section. All of the gluing is going to happen just on this bottom little panel right here, so that it will fold and go flat. Okay, so next, I'm going to put some more glue on the edges here. In my house, all the glitter pieces are hopefully dry, so I'm going to place this down now, just like that. Push it down. Okay, now you can see I've got vellum in all my windows. When I fold it up, it catches on the little sentiment. So this one stands up a little taller. You can see the difference from the top view. See how this one's standing a little more angled, and this one stands up taller. So you can kind of choose whatever you want to do. Now the fun part of this is this little space that's created on the inside, you can actually tuck a tea light in there and make this light up. So ignore the fact that I have a ghost tea light. It was all I could find at the moment. But you just tuck that in there. And then it lights up. So you can display them. You could send a tea light along to the recipient so they can, with little instructions, so they could do that on their own. So that is how to make a vintage inspired Glitter House Easel Card. Again, folds flat for mailing. The whole card is 5 by 5, so it will fit in a square envelope. Anyways, so much fun. I had so much fun designing these and planning these out. I actually made a couple more versions that you can grab in my cut file shop if you wanted to make a whole village. So there's 2 more options. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. And again, remember, if you are here from 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop 12 Days of Christmas prior to Thanksgiving 2023, you'll get this file for free. If not, you can grab the file in the description. Thanks for watching today.